Why, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AfterBuzz. Brandon here, your host. Producer Dave is off today, unfortunately. He's out taking care of some other stuff. So you just got me flying solo today. But we're going to have a good show here on the AfterBuzz. Again, as always, if you have any questions, comments, anything you guys want to bring up in the YouTube chat, you're more than welcome to do that. While you are here, make sure that you guys are clicking the like button for me. You guys are subscribing and also hitting the bell so you get the notifications for when we go live with the AfterBuzz. So we've got a few different things that we're going to be talking about today. The first topic happens to do with, was it yesterday or Monday? I'm not really sure which day, but you heard a lot more music during the morning show. And there's a reason for that. There's actually two reasons at this point that you'll hear music during the morning show. When I first started, we played music during the actual show. Buzz would sell the songs. Hey, here's Smashing Pumpkins with Zero on the Buzz Evans Morning Show, and it would go across the network. You don't get that anymore. If you are listening in Abilene or San Angelo, you get music every single day. If you're listening on the Facebook live feed or if you are listening on KLAQ, you don't get music every single day. And the reason because, well, we're now a full-blown talk show. We don't play music anymore. But the times that you will hear it, the one time that we might have coming up soon is when Metro PCS decides, we're going to buy all of the advertising for the morning show. We're going to give them more morning show, less commercials. So you'll hear music inserted in there. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why don't they just talk during this time? Well, there's a couple of different reasons for that. The main one being to talk without being able to take a break, prepare the next segment, go to the bathroom, all those certain things that you're allowed to do during a normal work shift becomes difficult. So you have to allow yourself those breaks to be able to go do things. You can't be on the air for 5 hours without a break. It's just not possible. But the reason that you heard music earlier this week, and then even during these Metro PCS takeovers, is what it has to do with, Metro by T-Mobile is what it is now. And the reason you hear that is because I explained this last week as to why you hear Buzz get cut off frequently in regards to whatchamacallit. Like he'll be talking about something and then all of a sudden like the next thing will play and he's mid-sentence and then he kind of trails off on what he is saying. That's because that portion of the show has to be timed out exactly to a specific time. And so if we don't have enough commercials to fill that time, we will run PSAs, whether it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds. But I know as a listener, you probably don't want to hear PSAs mixed in with commercials if we can fit in a song. So as the producer, when I'm looking at the log of all the commercials and stuff that we have lined up, knowing these specific commercial stop sets need to fill a specific amount of time. If I have enough room, I'm going to put a song in there. And, I try to mix it up between all different decades of rock that we play on KLAQ. So that would be the reason why you hear music on the morning show, is specifically because of that. Other than that, you might hear it during rock news. You might hear a clip of something. And then the other one would be if we're debuting a new song. Like if somebody, releases a new song, we've got an early release of it, we're definitely going to play that whole thing on the air. But that would be the reason why you hear music on the morning show, because we're trying to fill that time because it has to fit exactly. Next on the agenda here in regards to the AfterBuzz, we're going to talk some 90 Day Fiance. Now, if you don't remember this, I was first introduced to 90 Day Fiance a couple of years ago. It was when I'd gone to Houston with my, at the time, I don't even think we were engaged. I think it was just a girlfriend, but now my wife. And as we were in Houston, I have Sling TV, and at the time I don't think we had TLC. So I landed on this channel with just this strange ass dude explaining to this girl who he wants to be his fiance that he's got a criminal record. He was, in prison for arson and just all of this crazy, wacky stuff. And I was kind of hooked, but also at that time, it was the kind of TV that makes me sad. Like, seriously. Like a lot of the stuff on the E! Network or MTV and things like that. it's like this is depressing to me. But now I've gotten hooked. Buzz got hooked on it. My wife and I watch it frequently now, and there's multiple different things in regards to 90 Day Fiance. And I just put a link up there on the in the YouTube chat to a blog that I put up at BuzzAdamsShow.com talking about a new season of 90 Day Fiance that they have coming up. This one is the before the 90 days. So basically, what it is, it's about the 90-day K1 visa. Or, well, I guess it's about the K1 visa where you have 90 days to decide whether or not you're going to get married. So if somebody from another country wants to come to the United States for a marriage, you can come over for 90 days. In that 90 days, you have to get married. So what before the 90 days is, it's generally the American going to the other country to visit that person, decide whether or not they want to pop the question, and all this other craziness will ensue. They've also got 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After. That's obviously after they've been married, and whether or not they're going to be able to make the marriage work. There's also just straight up 90 Day Fiance, which is the one where it's during the 90-day period whether or not they get married. And I actually just saw a preview for a show called The Family Chantel. Now, this one is nuts. So this is during the 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After. So it's this Lady Chantel, and I forget her husband's name, but he's from the Dominican Republic. And they fight nonstop. And, there's been fights between the families. And there's this rumor flying that this one dude, he told her that, hey, by the way, the reason he married you is because his mom and his sister set it up so that he could marry an American to get a green card so they could come to the States and like grow their business. Like total shady shit going on here. But now I guess they have a spin-off show called The Family Chantel that is going to keep pursuing this path and kind of keep pursuing this family and following up. So if you would like, I am right now going to share the trailer for that as well into the YouTube chat. Obviously, don't watch it now. Wait until we're done with the AfterBuzz to go watch it. But the one thing that's coming up on 90 Day Fiance is they're bringing back some of our favorites, some of the best. Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's that dude that ran away in Brazil. So the way that scene happened was he had a translating app, I guess, on his phone. He would type it, it would translate, he would hand it to her, she would read it, she would type, it would translate back to English, so on and so forth. And he's trying to tell her, hey, I've got a criminal record. As she's reading it, he starts to freak out. He's like, I'm not good enough. You don't deserve. I don't deserve you, or whatever the fuck. And he leaves. And he doesn't just like walk away normal. Like he runs, and he runs like up over a hill, like Forrest Gump. Like you remember when he would just start running? That's this dude. He just took off and he's gone. And then the camera guys lose him. They're like, we don't know where the hell he went. And then all of a sudden, poof, the chick's getting robbed by a dude with a machete. Now, I don't know if they set that up, if they're like, oh, like, let's pay this guy to come in and we'll make it look like drama or whatever. I was hooked. I'm like, that's nuts, dude. But they are actually on a different season. I told you, there's a lot of these 90 Day Fiancés out there. It's very confusing. There's another one called 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way. And this one is all about Americans who go get married in the other country. Their original plan, the girl was in Brazil, was to bring her to the United States. She got denied. She's not allowed here, or at least to move here. So now he's got to move to Brazil. So that's why they're on that season. But the new one that I'm talking about had to do with 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. So this is before they bring them over to the United States. And the one that they get brought up, Buzz brought this up. When I first got back into 90 Day Fiancé and he was watching it, he's like, Jesse and Darcy, follow this couple. He's like, it's nuts. It is the epitome of toxicity. And I've got in that blog that I put a link to in the YouTube chat, you can see some videos. And I'm serious, man. Like, it was an absolute train wreck, but you couldn't turn away. It's nuts. So the girl is back. Darcy, she's going to be on this new season with a whole new guy who she's apparently known for a while. And there's a trailer that I put into the blog too where she's like constantly crying. Like, oh yeah, like nobody's ever treated me this way. Like, I love it. Oh, like she's like fucking crying all the time. And it flashes to the dude talking to the camera and he's like, Darcy's a very emotional woman. I don't find that attractive at all. Like he's bashing her for how emotional it is. Holy crap, it's gonna be great. I'm not gonna lie. And then the other couple, they're bringing back both of them. It's Michael and Angela. So Angela's like kind of the super redneck older woman. Michael is the dude from Africa, significantly younger. And the first time we met him, she went over to Africa and bought him all this MAGA stuff. It was like "Make America Great Again" hats, and he's all like, "Yay, America!" Like Trump coming in, and like he's rocking all the stuff. And then anyway, fast forward through the whole thing. They split up on the final episode of the season where they kind of do a whole recap and they have people in the studio. She's getting into it with other people. She's fucking yelling at everybody. She's threatening to beat up one of the other girls. Oh, it was amazing. So anyway, they're bringing that couple back, and apparently she's flying back to Africa in regards to, I guess, to give this dude an ultimatum or something like that. So Frank is back in the YouTube chat, and he's saying that I had a 90-day fiance. We now call her El Diablo. If you say so, buddy. But yeah, 90 Day Fiance. Like seriously, there's a ton of shows, and it's confusing as hell sometimes because you've got Before the 90 Days, you've got Happily Ever After, you've got just the straight up 90 Day Fiance, you've got the 90 Day Fiance. What was the other one? Oh, The Other Way, and then you've also got now The Family Chantel. It's going to be coming out on TLC as well. So go check that out, dude. I'm not joking. Like I can't believe that I'm actually promoting the show and how much I love talking about it because it's complete garbage TV. But I'm hooked. I'm absolutely hooked. And it's one of those shows that I watch it more passively. Like my wife will be watching it. We're getting ready for bed, and she'll be tuning, and I'll be reading a book or something. But she keeps me up to date. She knows I want to know. So she's kind of my my narrator as to to catch me up on all the crazy stuff that's going on. Next topic here for the AfterBuzz happens to do with student loans, something that really took over the show yesterday during news, and we started to talk about student loans and the fact that Bernie Sanders wants to basically forgive $1.6 trillion in student loan debt by passing that on to like one of the things that I'd heard is adding on taxes to stock purchases and stuff like that. And it's a really hairy situation. And again, this is one of those topics where I'm very down the middle. I don't agree with what Bernie is doing, but I also agree that the student loan situation in the United States needs to be looked at. There's a lot of people in the Facebook chat who are coming in there chiming in with, they need to forgive all of my debt and how dare they ask for this? It's like, okay, look, you took out the loan, all right? Now, here's where this thing gets really hairy. Student loans are treated almost completely differently than any other loan you can take out. A home loan, a car loan, a credit card, anything. And it's very restrictive, which is why it's so difficult to pay off for a lot of people. If you have outstanding credit card debt, let's say you've got $5,000 on a card with a super high interest rate, you can go to a different credit card and do a balance transfer to a lower interest rate, making it easier to pay off. There's a lot of different things that you can do with other loans. You can't do that stuff with student loans. And I think that's something that needs to be tackled first. I realize that college is expensive. There's a lot of people who kept chiming in with, well, college is too expensive. That's the problem. That's not the root of the problem. That's a part of the problem. The root of the problem is the actual student loan system and how it's run and how limiting it is to allow people to free themselves of that burden. It's not like if you have a car or a house and it's a commodity that you can sell later or that they can repossess or that they can take care of to pay off this loan. If you have a car and you don't make your payments, they're going to take the car. They can't take back their education, which makes this very different than anything else. And I think before Bernie comes in and says, I'm going to forgive $1.6 trillion here of student loan debt, they need to look at the system at first, because all that's going to do is it's going to forgive everybody's debt for now, and then that's going to get racked right back up because the system isn't fixed. The actual cause of the problem, the root of the problem, has not been solved. So what you need to do is go to that part of it, which happens to do with the interest rates, which happens to do with how they're handled, how they look completely different than any other goddamn loan out there. And I know this because I have some student loan debt, and I know how much of a pain in the ass it is. I had taken out $10,000 in student loans about 6 years ago because I was going back to school for my computer science degree, and it was 10 grand total. I'm making every single payment, every single payment, every single payment. And then after about 6 months, or about 5 months actually, I looked at the statements, I now owed upwards of, it was like $12,000. And I'm like, if I'm making these payments, how is it going up? And that's the problem, is that the interest rates are so screwy on these things. That'll happen. The only time I was ever really able to start knocking out the student loans was when you pay significantly above what you owe, when you're able to pay double the payment. Let's say it's $150 per month. If you can pay $300, then you're going to be able to tackle it. But that's not necessarily something that everybody's able to do, because when you graduate college and when you're done on these student loans, you're given 6 months until you have to start paying these things off. Now, they do give options. Do you need to have a temporary hold on having to pay these so that, it waits a little bit? Is there a way to um, uh, like lower the interest? Like there are options, but there's not a lot. Um, and that's one of the things that makes student loans very difficult. I think if anybody out there, and this is where it's can be difficult, because you got Buzz on the one side who's like, well, I'm not sympathetic, but you took out the money. Buzz has never been screwed over by a bank. Buzz has never been screwed over by a mortgage company. Buzz has never been screwed over like that. Buzz makes a ton of money. So he's not able to see it the way that the normal person does. And I think that that's one of those things where he really has his blinders on, where it's, well, you took out the loan, you need to be able to pay it, blah, 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 blah. Um, and so it's difficult to take his opinion seriously, because he's not able to view the whole spectrum of this issue. I do get what he's saying in the sense that, yes, you took out this loan and you owe it back, which is why I don't agree with Bernie Sanders just saying, oh, well, we'll just completely get rid of this $1.6 trillion. We'll pass it over here. You don't think that the companies that are going to have that bill passed to them are going to find some ways to save a buck, whether it's cutting hours, cutting wages, cutting employees, cutting benefits, doing all these different things to help pay for that? That effect is going to happen. You can't just expect to pass that on and be like, oh yeah, well, like everything's going to be the status quo. It's going to be completely normal and they'll just deal with it. That's not going to happen. But if you look at the root of the problem and you solve it, and like what should be done now is pick a standard interest rate and set them all up exactly the same, so that it makes it easier for people to pay off, because then they're actually taking care of the problems themselves. You're not passing it to somebody else. But unfortunately, it's the two different sides that don't see that. There was a time where I got hosed by my mortgage company for the house that I had in Florida. They kept asking me for proof of insurance. And it was a townhouse. So when it came to the structure of the building, the homeowners association, like the dues that we paid for that, paid for the insurance. Like the complex took out homeowners insurance, and that was a part of your homeowners dues. But as far as the interior goes, my own stuff goes, everything else, that was my own personal insurance that I had to pay for. Now the mortgage company would get a hold of me and they're like, hey, it's been a year. Like every year you had to renew it. And so it's like, hey, it's been a year. We don't have any proof of your insurance. So if you don't send us proof, we're going to take one out for you, and it's really expensive. So I was like, okay. So I got my HOA and I got all the information, and I forwarded on. And somehow in that same process, my own personal insurance got forwarded as well, the one that I took out for myself for my own personal belongings. So when all that information made it to the mortgage company only looked at my personal insurance, not the building's insurance. So they came back and said, well, you're covered for your stuff, but we're not covered for the building. So you need to send us proof. Again, sent them the proof. They only looked at my personal insurance, which I didn't even send them again. Like I realized that's what they were doing. So I only sent them the one that's going through my HOA, but still they have this thing on file over here, and that's all they looked at. So all of a sudden I get paid. I check my account. I am big time in the negative, because the mortgage company has randomly taken out $1,500 out of my account to pay for an insurance that's not needed because I have it. This went on for 4 months, where they're taking money out of my account, affecting the way I'm able to pay my bills, affecting my entire livelihood, fucking up my credit. So yeah, I was pretty pissed off. So I don't trust banks at all. And that's where this system in general, the whole banking system, is fucked, because they were allowed to do that, and there's zero repercussions for that mortgage company whatsoever. They don't owe me anything. They, you know what? Oh, our bad. Sorry. All of a sudden, they're able to just be like, okay, you're perfectly fine with this. Guess what happened a year later? The same fucking thing, except I caught it before they took the money out. But that's where this whole system is screwed because it's built for the banks. It's built for the money. It's built for the people who own the banks. And that's a major problem that I have with all of them. And that's why what we need to have some sort of regulations in place to tackle this stuff. Well, we bailed them out. That was a fantastic job that we did that after they're fucking over the American the American people, like Wells Fargo, who's randomly opening credit cards for people that didn't ask for the credit cards. Guess what? That affects their credit rating. Doesn't matter to Wells Fargo. They don't know shit. They don't have to do anything in regards to that. They're completely clean and free. They don't give a fuck. Oh, they'll go give gigantic bonuses to people, but they don't give a shit about you. They don't care about the fact that they just screwed your credit up and the fact that you're now not able to afford the vacation that maybe you wanted to take your family on, or the fact that your interest rate's going to go up on your house, or all of these different things that go on. But taking away $1.6 trillion in debt away from the banks and then having it paid through a different institution will have repercussions. Like, when I say that, I think a lot of people are like, I'm siding with the bank. Because they're like, oh, well, if you don't believe what Bernie's doing is right, you must side with the bank. No, I hate banks. I can't stand them. I think that, like, they're all fucking shady. All they want is your money, and there's zero repercussions for when they screw you over. We proved that they get what they want because they got bailed out because they're too big to fail, because we refuse to actually put regulations on them and refuse to actually monitor what they're doing truthfully. Oh, we monitor them, but not truthfully. And that's a major goddamn problem that I have. So yeah, I don't like banks, but I also don't think you can just take away that amount of debt and just pass it off to somebody else and be like, oh, well, we'll tax people this business over here a little bit more and it'll completely pay things off. No, you need to look at the root of the problem, which is how the loans are structured and what people can do with those loans. As long as the money gets paid off, but the problem is that's not what they care about. They don't want the money to get paid off. They want it to get paid off and then get as much as they possibly can. Why do you think after you open a credit card, all of a sudden you get credit card applications in the mail nonstop? You're open game, buddy. When I was about 21, 22, I still didn't have a credit card yet. I finally needed to get one to build credit because when I was in college and stuff, I was still living with my parents. And when I went to go move into an apartment, I had zero credit because I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have any kind of debt. I had nothing. Like, I was completely free and clear of all of that crap. I needed to open a credit card. The day I opened that credit card, the following week, I was getting two applications per day in the mail for a new credit card because you're open season, man. They know that if once you take out one credit card, you might need another one. You might need another one. And they're out there to take all your goddamn money, and it's pathetic. But the biggest thing we need to do is look at the root of the problem. So have fun watching the Democratic debate tonight. I'm pretty sure this will be a bigger topic tomorrow because Bernie Sanders is in the debate tomorrow, not tonight. So I'm pretty sure that that will be kind of one of the big sources of debate for tomorrow when it comes to the Democrat. But anyway, so getting really conspiracy theory and getting kind of politicky on this AfterBuzz, especially with the final topic I'm about to get into. But if there is anything that you guys want brought up, if there's anything in the news, if there's anything that you guys want discussed, by all means, go ahead and hit me up in the YouTube chat here before we wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. I'm trying to corral this a little bit more to be closer to a half an hour. I keep pushing it to 40 minutes, but I think I need to focus more on 30 minutes in regards to how long these things are going. And right now we're at about 25. But anyway, final topic for today, unless somebody wants to bring something up in the YouTube chat, has to do with ad tracking. And we talked about this on the morning show, and Buzz's example was how, like, his feet were swelling up, and like to the point where when he would take his socks off, like, you would see the indents of the socks on his feet and on his ankles or his cankles. And he didn't bring it up to anybody. He hadn't brought it up to a doctor, and it was just it's really odd because the dude from Instagram, he had said that there's two different ways that this could happen. Is that maybe what the ad is for happens to be top of mind awareness because you saw something on Instagram or something like that, or maybe you did search for something, or interestingly enough, it could just be sheer dumb luck that you're getting an advertisement for something that you were thinking about. But anyway, I have a very distinct story or kind of experience with this. So I started running and tracking my running about a year and a half, 2 years ago when I first started to go to Gorilla MMA, the gym, by the way, that's over at out at Sunland Park. Isaac, he's got a new place. He's right next door to where he was. I got to train for the first time in, oh man, I think it was at least 6 months. It was the first time I'd been able to train out there. Like I've been running and doing like my shoulder exercises and stuff, but it was the first time I was there. Man, he beat the shit out of me, dude. Like they've got heavy bags that come down, and at the bottom of them, at the portion that's about that far, this is the bottom of the bag till about this high. There's a line that's like spray painted on the bag because that right there, it's like a goddamn cinder block. It is so hard. And as I'm kind of warming up, getting ready, and I'm kind of letting Isaac know what I can and can't do, I'm still a little iffy on throwing punches because of my shoulders and stuff. But he goes, okay, he goes, we're going to work your shins. Oh my God. That's one of the worst things you want to hear when you're like doing kickboxing, because that means you're going to go kick something incredibly hard with your shins over and over again. And when I was done, and with my coordination, everything, still trying to like get, my footing back, you missed a couple of times. So my all the way from the middle of my foot up to my shin, it was just one gigantic bruise on both legs. And I didn't even do the amount that he wanted me to. So I think I'm still a little bit far behind in regards to where I want to be at. But got to ease back into it. It was the first time I've trained in over 6 months. But back to ad tracking, I have an app that tracks how far I run, which is how I'm able to push myself a little bit harder. When you hit 1 mile, it'll let you know how long that 1 mile took you. So it'll be like 1 mile 8:58. Like okay, you're making good time or bad time, kind of depending on how you want to run. And what was interesting is when I first started running, I was running pretty slow, and like 10 to 10 and a half minutes per mile. So these ads were popping up on Facebook and Bleacher Report and all these different places where ads pop up. Do you run a 10-minute mile? Look into this insurance or something in reference to me running a 10-minute mile. And I was like, huh, that's weird. So as I improved my times as I'm running, I got up to a 9-minute mile. All of a sudden, all of those ads changed. Do you run a 9-minute mile? Click here for this insurance. And it was weird. And it's just like I know it happens. It's one of those things that that they're doing, that this app that I'm using to track my runs is selling that information to somebody. Like they're selling it to the company that's advertising this, whatever the hell it is that you run a 9-minute mile. And then I was getting even faster. And at one point I was up to 8 minutes a mile. And sure as shit, every single one of those ads was changing to, do you run an 8-minute mile? And it follows. And like every time when I'm running, when it becomes a consistent time, whether it's 10 minutes here or it's 9 minutes in a row or I'm up to 8 minutes in a row or whatever it is, that ad changes every single time. And it's really creepy and it's really weird, but it's a reality. I mean, like it's one of those things I knew always happened. It's just you don't really want to think about it. You know what I mean? But anyway, that was my personal experience with the ad tracking that happens based on where you're surfing, what you're doing, and what you're using on your phone and stuff, man. So just be forewarned out there that crazy stuff happens on the internet. But on that note, if you guys have anything really quick that you want to bring up, by all means, hit it up in the YouTube chat. We already covered everything, so we covered. If you missed it earlier, you can go back to the beginning of the episode where I talk about why you might hear music during the morning show. Talk about 90 Day Fiance. I still can't believe that I watch 90 Day Fiance, but I do. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty fantastic. Although I don't watch, I explained it earlier. Like I don't watch it as actively as I used to. Like I'm okay with the wife watching it without me. Although there's some episodes where I'm like, like there's like it's selling something for the next episode, or there's something else coming up. Hell no, we're watching that together because that looks awesome. So I've got the links in there in the YouTube chat. You guys can check them out. We've got the trailer for the new show called The Family Chantel. We've also got the blog that I did about 90 Day Fiance and some of the stuff that they have coming up. We discuss student loans and also the weird creepiness of ad tracking on the internet. But on that note, here on the Buzz Adams Morning Show, we've got Carlos Mencia. He's going to be in town here at the Comic Strip in El Paso. He's going to be on the show coming up on Friday. And of course, as always, have yourselves a fantastic Wednesday. We will see you next week, 10:30. I believe Producer Dave may or may not be in next week. He says he's on vacation, but he might be doing a staycation. And I kind of want to tell him, like, dude, like, stay home, like, go relax. Unless you need to get out of the house. If you need to get out of the house, by all means, come on and help it out. I enjoy having you here. But on that note, you guys have yourselves a fantastic Wednesday. We will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Mountain Time on the Buzz Adams Morning Show.